background in radio. Back in yesteryears, I had my own radio show where I highlighted the top 40 under 40 movers and shakers, people that were all about their business. I am now a mom to a beautiful 8-year-old daughter. Also, I am happily divorced and I have moved on and just navigating the dating life, enjoying life, and living my best life. You can also find me on Instagram under Shiribi. That's Shiribee.
Congratulations on motherhood.
Thank you. I love her.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure she loves you as well. How did that, one thing I always like to ask parents is how did your life change since becoming a mother?
Oh my gosh. In every way. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, parenting is ghetto. Like it has its pluses and its minuses, especially at this age, because you don't think that preteen starts in like single digits, but it does. But it gave me a lot more patience, just all around, and helped me be a more realistic person. Where things before I was a mother, I was pretty rigid on things like not necessarily like time constraints, but just unrealistic views of reality. And so once I became a mother, you know how the older ladies just say, baby, just keep on living. Just having lived experiences humanized me more. So it's been good.
What's something that you learned about yourself since motherhood?
That I am actually nicer than I thought I was.
Did you think you're a monster before?
I mean, I was just very no nonsense. I was known for being, kind of like the word the before my name. So like the Shuri, where, you know, people knew I didn't play. It was easy to cut people off, just very no nonsense. But you learn how to kind of be more understanding and a give and take dynamic after I became a mommy. So yeah.
Yeah, once again, congratulations. I think being a parent is one of the most beautiful things in the world. I'm not a parent myself. I'm a dog parent, as some would say, but
Yes.
I think creating children, raising children, and then seeing them become successful in the world is truly an amazing experience from a legacy perspective, as well as like a fulfillment. Like I created that, I played a role in that, and all the greatness that they do. So congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it's even a larger responsibility than I thought about before she was here and then after she was here. I'm a really spiritual person, so I had to really look at it as, God is lending me this kid to like raise and rear and to provide insight with. And my time with her is limited. And so let's make the most of the time that I have with her. But, I'm being entrusted with this individual to give them a good foundation. So sometimes I have to reel myself back in when I want to, not necessarily go Joe Jackson on her, but your child is half of you. So you can kind of, you want to meet them where they are. But you have to think about those things like, okay, like this is just not about me. This is not just the Cherie show with this baby. This is something that God has tapped me on the shoulder and said, okay, like go ahead and do your thing with this child. So yeah.
You mentioned happily divorced.
Yes.
And I've heard that as she celebrates in front of me right now. I don't want to lose my train of thought with that. Right? But what does I know what it could mean.
Yes.
And from a male's perspective, there's like I'm starting to feel hot in my chest as you said that, right? So it's like,
Uh-oh,
oh my
triggered?
God. No, like I'm
Okay.
channeling the powers of other men. I'm not triggered
Oh,
myself.
okay.
Because then that could imply something else. But from like from the male perspective, I can understand like some men would get triggered, right? They're like, you know
Yeah.
what, a woman that's celebrating it and things like that. But it doesn't mean that from what you shared. So what does happily divorced mean from, let's say, your perspective and maybe from a woman's perspective?
Yeah, and you know what? It could be from anybody's perspective, right? Because you would hope that people would find their happiness or find themselves post-divorce. This is what I learned about marriage. In order for marriage to work, both parties have to want to be married, right? Or else it doesn't work. So I was in a situation where I was married to an individual that didn't necessarily want to be married. They understood that marriage, because they're a business person, they understood that marriage was good for business, but I don't think they necessarily understood all of the spiritual responsibilities that come with marriage. Um, and so in that space, and in a lot of other spaces, we were unequally yoked. So meaning like we just had different viewpoints on things that kind of matter. For instance, the way that we see family, is family your extended family, or is family the people that live in these four walls? The way is that we saw money. Do you see money as a tool, or do you see money as your God? Just a lot of different things like that. So when I say that I'm happily divorced, it's that first, let me say, Train, I never wanted to be divorced. The only way out of marriage was death in my mind. So but here we are because life continues to life, regardless of whatever happens in our lives. But I say happily divorced because I was able to know or finally choose who I am as an individual and as a woman. And now I live my life by design. So, to that individual, I hope that they are also happily divorced. I hope that they got their happy in this situation and they're no longer bound by the responsibilities, by something that they, to be honest, that they really didn't want to do. So I hope they're happy too.
That's one of the best explanations I've heard about it. And you were very respectful in the way that you said it. And I absolutely agree with that. I think, and maybe this is because I have a religious background, a religious foundation, which a lot of people may not have.
Mhm.
So I can understand when using terms like evenly yoked and what does family mean, and is money a tool or is it a god? Where some other people may say, training Shiri, money is my god. Look at what it provides to me.
Mhm.
Right. So I get that perspective. And for you to be in a situation like that, that must have been difficult because it sounds like you're coming from it as these things are only as important as they make our happy, or sorry, our families happy.
Mhm.
Right. Once it starts to interfere with that, then this has to be removed because this is supposed to be forever. Is that an accurate summary of it?
Yeah. Yes, indeed. Yeah. Like I said before, it was something that I never thought that I would get out of. I thought that it meant forever, but sometimes it just doesn't work like that. And it was something where I said, okay, I remember saying to this individual after something really egregious had happened, and I said, how much more is it going to take until you kill me? So I was even unrecognizable to myself looking in the mirror where I didn't even know who I was. And because I do have a little girl, because I do have a daughter, I just never wanted her to look at me and say, why were you so weak that you stayed? So I couldn't stay. It wouldn't have been on brand for me to stay because I just have been such a resilient individual to just not be in things or to stay in things that don't serve me. Now, I'm not saying to just jump ship when, okay, y'all not getting along in marriage. This person wants Burger King and you want McDonald's. I'm not saying that at all, but I'm saying things that are like fundamentally where you're just not aligned. It didn't work for me.
Let me ask you a question then, and maybe this is could help men and women. Dating before you got married and
Okay.
dating after you got married, how much of a difference is it?
Okay, I gotta ask some more questions because I'm trying to classify this. Dating the individual before I married them, or just dating in general? Dating
I
in
would say
general?
I would say dating in general because there's many people who are around our age, who look around the same age, who are divorced if they're not married, right? So
Right.
I'll give you an example to add some context. There's
Okay.
someone I'm working with, she's in her 60s. She
Okay.
was married in her 20s, like a lot of people from that generation,
Mm-hmm.
right? Man goes, they both go to the farmer market. Man drops a handkerchief. She picks it up. They're married. They take the ferry back home and off to the sunset, right? That's how it
So
was.
romantic.
The romantic. She's married. I think she was married just over 10 years. She gets divorced. She's had a couple relationship. Fast forward, she's in her 50s and I come in contact with her. She's like, Terrain, how do I date again? I'm trying to use this app. It's Tinder. I'm like, it's called Tinder. Take it down. She's like, yeah, I'm trying to navigate it. But for her, it's a totally different experience from when she dated before the marriage,
Yeah.
not the individual, maybe even including that, and after. So, in general, for you and maybe for other men and women, how was that different?
I'm not gonna lie to you. Dating after divorce. has been a ball. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like before dating before marriage, there was a bit of some pressure, right? Where it was more so like, well, hey, where's this relationship going? You're so eager to get to marriage because before you're married, sometimes a lot of us think that marriage is the finish line and that's the big celebration and that's the gold medal. When, when you get married, that's when the marathon actually begins, and it is indeed a marathon. I know it's so cliche when people say, it's a marathon and not a sprint, but that's exactly what marriage is. I think that there was a lot more pressure to do things right and to fit into a box when I was dating prior to getting married. Dating after having experienced marriage and now being a divorced individual. I'm in a relationship now, a serious relationship, but prior to that, um, dating was fun. I live in a large city. I live in Atlanta, so there's always something going on. I had to relearn going out there because when, at least the way that I was when I was married, the way that I dressed as a wife was different than the way that I dressed as a fiance and even the way I dressed as a single woman, or a girlfriend. So I kind of had to do a whole revamping of everything, Terrain. I had to go get contact with my single friends or my divorced friends, like, girl, what do I wear? Of course, you change your hair because when a woman changes her hair, then she's about to change her life. So I went blonde for a couple of years. It was fun. Um, it was a lot less pressure, at least on my end, because I wasn't scared of anything. And now I'm not scared of anything because I've already experienced the scariest thing in my life, and that was divorce. Even though I asked for it, it was still scary because it was such a life-changing event. But I enjoyed dating after being married. I think it was a lot more fun.
Men and women are so different. We are so different. I remember, unless maybe it's just me, right? And maybe I'm projecting for all the men out there. I do apologize if I am, right? But we look at it as when a relationship ends, we're thinking, am I going to be able to make this work again? And maybe you went
Mm,
through that as well, right? And probably a lot of people go through that. But for me personally, when my relationship ended, this was years ago before my current one,
mhm.
it was probably what 3.5 years. And this was someone that I was renting out a condo in the downtown core of Toronto. And this is someone I actually
Mm.
gave the key to the
Oh,
condo.
it's a big deal.
It is because when she was accepting it, I was still holding on to it. And she's like, give me that key. Right? I was like, you're kind of strong here. Right? So, and then when I did that, that was a big step for me. But
Yeah.
then when that ended, and then I look at that key, and that key was like a representation of trust. Like, am I going to be able to give this to another person?
Yeah.
So for the first time in my life, I said, okay, I'm going to purposely, and so many people do that now, but this is years ago. I'm going to take time. So no dating for whatever. I just need to fix me because that was a big moment in my life.
Hmm.
Fast forward that after a year, I started using the dating apps. This is probably 2014.
Okay, so they were popping back then.
Yeah, they were,
Yeah.
right? And then
Yeah.
I was like, I'm getting all these matches, and I'm like, I always thought that I was sexy, but now, right? But now you're getting a little bit of like validation for it, right?
Right.
And I talk to my female friends, like, Train, you're getting a few a day. Like, they show me they're getting hundreds. Then I was no longer feeling as attractive as I thought it was. So when I
So
started
funny.
going on these dates, to your point, I enjoyed it so much, not
Mhm.
because anything sexual was happening. It was the interaction and me being creative because I never was creative when it came to
Mhm.
planning dates as well. So when you mentioned it was fun, I totally get where you're coming from. Do you see other women experiencing that as well, where it is fun as long as they maintain it a healthy way, or do you see them experiencing something else?
I see the whole gamut. And let me also say, I think that I was able to enjoy dating because I had already done the healing. So, I remember my best friend and I are super close. Like, we're each other's soulmates in real life. Men may come and go. I like the one that I have now. I love him. But, that is my real soulmate. That's my dog for real. But I remember her telling me, Shri, you're so calm, like during this whole process. Like, you're kind of, and people will tell me, you're kind of eerily calm. And I said, well, I've already healed myself. I've already mourned the end of the marriage before I filed. So, as you were saying, men and women are different. A lot of times, women, we've gone through the thing, we've exhausted all the other options. And so when we finally do it, we've already reached that point, kind of the point of no return, no resolve, where, we've already settled it and it is well in my soul and it is what it is. So, from what I've seen, a lot of the ladies that have been able to enjoy it have already done the work or are actively doing the work, because I do feel like you can heal and, move on in your life and date at the same time. Now, the ones that have not done the work, I feel like those are the ones that are like, the dating pool has piss in it. And I'm like, well, if this one has piss in it, girl, just get up and go to another pool. So I don't ever see it, from a scarcity mindset. I don't embrace a scarcity mindset. So yeah, I see both ways. It just depends on how much you want to invest in self.
Yeah, that's the biggest part. I think as we get older, we can fall into the trap of the scarcity mindset. I'm 40, I'm old. Who's gonna want me? One woman told me that train. I think love is only for those in their 20s. I'm like, in their 20s. I was like, what I was going through my 20s definitely wasn't love, because if that's love, I don't want it. I'm thank God I don't have it now.
Right. That part.
Right? So, um, the scarcity mindset, how much of an impact can that have on people, let's say after divorce or after a relationship of some significance ends?
I think mindset is everything, and that scarcity mindset will have you holding on to things, people, situations that don't even serve you. So you're holding on to them so tightly that, I mean, they're crumbling and it can't even breathe, so it's bound to die anyway. But when you let go of stuff that you're not even supposed to have in the first place, your hands are now what? They're open. So now you can receive new things, right? So it just, sometimes we're trying to hold on to things that don't even serve us. And it's like you gripping the hell out of this, but it's five bananas in the grocery store. You gripping the hell out of this one. You don't even realize when you look down, it's old, it's brown, it's black, it's bruised up. What you gonna do with something that's bruised and used up? You don't even want it. It doesn't even serve you. It's so old you can't even bake bread with it. So it serves zero purpose. Sometimes you just gotta let it go.
Yeah, that was something I learned that was very, very beneficial. Is just sometimes you just have to let it go and just say, this isn't for me. Maybe this person isn't for me. And I sometimes I may see my exes here and there. I don't wish anything negative on them. I just say that, you know what? At that point in time, we weren't for each other. I wish you all the
Yeah.
best. You're probably happily married now. Not that I wish you were happily married, because I want to maintain that blessings for myself and will be selfish that way. But we all tap into different energies. And speaking of different energies, when it comes to, let's say, feminine energy, how can a woman embrace her feminine energy?
Oh, that's a loaded question, Terry. There's so many different directions we can go with that. For one, I have learned the strength in my silence, not in a toxic way, but just sometimes there's no need to over explain things. No is a complete sentence. And just making sure, making sure that I am very aware of what I'm saying before I say it, right? So let's say that I don't know, I was gonna go on a date with someone. It was a first date or a second date, and they want to go, I don't know, bowling. It's so funny. I was talking to my boyfriend the other day and I was like, I just don't like doing bowling. It seems a little corny or something. I don't know what I was saying. And of course, I can say this to him now because we're past the little frou-frou stages. But let's say that you really don't like bowling. You don't want to put on shoes that someone else has worn, or, your hand-eye coordination is off. It's going to be embarrassing, or you don't want to break a nail, whatever. So instead of going on and on about, well, I don't want to do this and here's the reasons why I don't want to do it, it may be something where it's like, well, I appreciate the suggestion, but I'd much rather do something that's more whatever based, more, you know, more intimately based. Like, let's go listen to jazz music at a jazz club, or, um, I really do enjoy, physical activity too, but I really enjoy to get to know you better while taking a walk in the park. So just saying things, rewording things, I guess, where nobody gets hurt, I guess. So what I mean by that is when you're giving feedback, you could be like, "Oh, well, I don't want to go bowling. That's stupid." And then you don't give any suggestion, and then the man may be like, "Well, shit, you seem very hard to please. I don't, you know what, forget it. Something came up. My grandma died again. I don't even want to talk to you, whatever." So giving them the insight, but also helping them kind of pivot so that they're still, they're still in control because they like to plan and win. Men like to win, but still also getting what you want out of it because it's like, well, I want to go on this date, but I want it to also be enjoyable for me. So I know I kind of went off with what I was saying before. That's one of my superpowers as having ADHD and being neuro, but I hope that I kind of answered the question somewhere in there.
No, you answered it perfectly because I absolutely agree. When you said my grandmother died again, I kind of laughed because how many times are you gonna kill off the poor woman, right?
Right. Meemaw.
Right.
Rest in peace, Meemaw.
Yeah, yeah. Grandmothers are they're beautiful, absolutely
Yes.
fantastic
Yes,
people.
indeed.
No, but you're 100% right. I think sometimes we get lost in the way that we say things, right? In the bowling example, you may not want to go bowling, and a lot of times man, we don't really want to go bowling. It's just the first thing that comes on top of our mind, right? It's like when you go with someone like, oh, you want to go to that restaurant, the same restaurant on the same day at the same time.
Yeah.
It's a habit, right? But I think you're absolutely right. If there could be a suggestion, because there's times where I've gone on dates and I'll suggest something,
Mhm.
and then the woman would say, okay, how about this?
Mhm.
And then you take both ideas and you combine them. So there's a time where I went indoor rock climbing.
Okay.
Right. And that was pretty creative. I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but I learned and it was like, okay, I kind of like this. So I
Yeah.
started doing it as a recreational activity.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, yeah. So I've been doing it and it's pretty good. It's so affordable. I think at the time that I was doing it was like $20 a session.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Right. So you go there and it's a physical activity, it's not too strenuous. As long as you're not afraid of heights, then you have a problem.
Yeah.
But I think that's a really good alternative because I think sometimes we think that it has to be this glamorous $1,000 suit, ballroom gown evening, right? And you may not even like the person, like, oh my God, they're not getting a second date, right?
Right. Well, let me say this though. To the person that you really like, it doesn't even matter what you do. You know, I think about I think
I agree
about
100%,
yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I think about my man now. And the first date that we went on, it was nice. It was something different. He set up this whole thing. He had a driver for me. It was nice. It was beautiful. It was a day date. So that was really different too, and it was cool. And so he was doing something where he was moving into his new place because he's also divorced too. And he was moving into his new home. And I said, "Well, do you want to have company?" And he said, "Well, what do you mean?" And I said, "Well, do you want to like hang out that day? I'll help you run errands." And he was like, "Are you serious?" And I was like, "Yeah, why not?" And it was so surprising to him to the point that he actually had a discussion with his mom and was like, "Ma, like this girl just wanna hang out. This will be our second date," which I told him, because now he travels a lot internationally for business. Right now, I think he just got to Thailand. So he probably spent the night at his new place, maybe all of 10 nights. I said that was the most expensive second date I've ever witnessed in my life because I think he paid rent there like 8 or 9 months and was there maybe 10 nights. So I was like, you didn't have to do all that to show me that you were self-sufficient. But saying all that to say, Trent, when you really like the person, all the other stuff, it doesn't matter. Now, of course, you should always put your best foot forward, but it doesn't require too much.
Do you think some people confuse that, thinking that they do need to overperform instead of just finding something that they're both going to enjoy?
I think people should they should date realistically, right? Because we've seen the things on the internet where, sometimes individuals, oh, well, this woman wanted to go on this type of date and they should be grateful that anybody wants to talk to them. And this, if this is all that this man can afford, then, and I don't like to get into the weeds of all that because I didn't understand what the big deal was about a $200 date. Because I'm like, well, where are we eating? Because that's what it's gonna cost anyway. Because I want oysters and I want some filthy martinis and whatever else. But this is what I think about that whole thing. If you have orange juice budget, which is fine, orange juice is delicious. There's so many different ones to drink from. But if you trying to talk to this individual that only drinks pomegranate juice, like the palm, you're gonna get mad at them because that's what they like. And if orange juice is your only thing that you can drink or have, because that's within your wheelhouse, that's fine. There are a lot of people that drink orange juice, but don't get mad at somebody that has pomegranate juice and this is what they like, and this is also what they buy for themselves. So you're mad at because there's a disparity. No, find an orange juice lover. It's simple.
I think it's just as simple as that. I think that people don't want to, they rather the person come down versus them going up.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I think that's a big, big problem. And to your analogy, there's someone who's a former friend of mine, and I remember he took a girl on a date, and I don't know where they went because I couldn't stop laughing that I couldn't even hear the rest of the story. He took this girl on a date, and the girl was like, "The seats are too hard." And I was like,
Okay. Okay.
and the reason why I bring this up because I was thinking about, I was like, where did you go? Because I can't remember a time where I went to a restaurant where that was a complaint.
Right.
Right, right. That to the point where the girl pointed it out. Like, you've probably been on dates before where like some people will struggle through it, right? They're like, yeah, I kind of like this person. It's not a
Uh-huh.
big deal that this table is wobbly. But
Yeah.
the actual seat was too hard that
Mm.
they felt a need to point it out. And I think sometimes, and there's some men that I know that they'll say that, okay, this is my budget, is $50. I'm like, for who? Is it $50 for the both of you? $50 for you? And you made a good point. There isn't that communication because she could be a pomegranate juice kind of person. She could be orange juice. Both are okay relative to each other, but you get them together, there's a disconnection because who is going to compromise? Because one person has to compromise a lot more. Do you see communication being an issue in modern dating today?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Communication mixed with the so many people are idealistic where they use social media as their barometer as to like, am I doing life right? Am I making enough money? All that stuff. But it's just so crazy how people don't know how to talk to or with people anymore. And especially in relationship where now we practice, and this is actually what he brought to me. He said, well, this is what we're going to do, Shiri. I said, okay, honey, what are we going to do? He said, we're going to do transparency over honesty. And I said, okay. And so what that means is there's no situation ever where it's going to be like, oh, well, I forgot to tell you this information, or I hid this information from you, or, well, it wasn't important. Because some people think omission is not lying. I feel like omission is lying, but I'm a Scorpio, so I can see through the shit anyway. But communication is everything. Transparency is everything. If you're wanting to be in a serious relationship. Now, if both of y'all are just playing around, then have at it, be each other's demon. It doesn't matter. But if you're wanting to like grow with people, then you absolutely need to practice transparency for sure.
What are some of the obstacles that prevent people from being transparent in relationships?
Ooh, when people are like, just tell me, I won't get mad, and then they get mad. So I think first, you know what? Here we go. Let's pull it back a little bit. The first thing that you have to figure out before you even do all this, go to this level with the individual, is you need to figure out if this person is your op or not, right? Because sometimes you get in relationships where you actually are dating somebody that's jealous of you. And that was a thing for me when I was dating in my 20s. So, I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, born and raised. People have whatever thoughts about Atlanta, and you're probably right. People think it's not a real place. It's rappers everywhere. The one of the biggest malls smell like weed all the time. I mean, it's kind of like a music video all the time, but I'm a native, so it hasn't always been this way. But saying all that to say, in my 20s, I'm driving around my little two-seater Mercedes convertible. I have a good job. I was one of the first in my friend groups to purchase a home while I'm going through grad school and all this stuff. And I'm just living life the way that I'm supposed to live life, right? This is what I'm supposed to do. This is how my life is just set up. But I would come across men that I would date, or even men that were presumably my friends, that would say like some hater stuff to me. And I'd be like, whoa, where? I'm thinking to myself, well, where is this coming from? Because we're friends, and if we're friends, we all see each other equally or alike. We're equals. We're friends. We're peers. So I had to start weeding out individuals that saw themselves in competition with me, even from a dating standpoint, where you could actually be dating somebody that actually hates you, or they're trying to go in and dim your light. And that may be their whole thing, especially if you've had to like make that individual wait for a while to like date you or to give them a chance or whatever. Sometimes that can be their motive. Where were we going with this? Here's my ADHD again. We were talking about communication, transparency. Why?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, Yeah. So you have to make sure that you are able to be transparent in those spaces where it's a safe space. Because if you're dating somebody that doesn't even like you, or y'all are not there to actually build and grow together, then it's not really going to go anywhere anyway. But if you know and accept that both of you all are coming from a loving space, when you are discussing things that may be bothering you, or things that are on your mind that are even totally outside of your relationship or partnership. It may be something going on at work or something going on with a family member. Just knowing, like, hey, I'm here, I have your back. Like, we can talk about any and everything. So, just keeping in mind, like, that person does have your best interest, like, at the forefront.
When you mentioned the competition, I actually experienced that. I've only experienced it once in my life,
Mm,
and this was someone that we were about to have the money conversation.
hmm
Like, like your job, how much you make, things like that. And let me tell you, Shiri, I've been avoiding this, how long I've been on this earth now, my entire life. It just never came up, right? I just said that I work here and this is the name of the company. And, one girl told me that she actually Googled and she looked it up, LinkedIn and all this other stuff. So she had an idea, but this one wanted specifics, right? Like what's your net worth and things like that. This was like after a year of dating.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, fine. You know what? Since you asked me of it, I'm not gonna do the Uno reverse and say you tell me first. Right? So I can do $1 less. So I was like, okay, so I said what I made and I said my resources, and I was a homeowner at the time, and well, I have this house at the time and she wasn't a homeowner.
Mhm.
So I said, this is my income, this is and my net worth. She was like, oh. I was like, oh boy.
Mm,
She told me her income, which was a little bit less than mine, but because of the overtime she worked, she earns more, but the net worth was a huge difference.
mm,
To me, I didn't care, it wasn't a big deal,
hmm
right? Because I loved her for her,
Right.
right? I knew where she worked and everything, so I had an idea of her income. So
hmm
her income was whatever, how men think is not my money
Y'all
anyways,
don't
right?
care. Y'all don't
Yeah, we
care.
don't, yeah, we care. Like my money is your money's not my
Right.
money.
Y'all do
Yeah,
not
yeah.
care.
Yeah, we don't care, right? But for her, she couldn't let it go. And it impacted
Mm.
our relationship to the point where she started to work longer hours to save more money. And I would ask her, like, you don't have to do this. When we would go out and I'm about to pay, she'd be like, no, no, you don't have to pay. I'm like, you don't. have to do
Oh yeah.
that, right?
Yeah.
There's one
Wow.
time we went out and I don't own a pair of jeans. I either have
Hmm.
sweatpants when I go to the gym or I have dress pants or khakis. So
Hmm.
we went out, and remember, this is after the conversation. She's like, "Oh, sometimes I feel like you're too dressed up." And I was like, "Let's go back to the car for a minute." I'm like, "I know where this is coming from,
Hmm.
right?" I'm
Hmm.
like, "I didn't share this information to make you feel less than. I share this information to make you feel loved more."
Right. Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
when it comes to like the communication, as you mentioned, the competition, how can we then help men and women to understand it's not a competition because together you can share the resources and not looking at it as, oh, he has more, she has more type of things?
I'm not I don't have any type of certification to helping from that perspective, but I really think it starts from within. You really have to settle it within yourself. And also, yeah, I was about to say choosing spaces that allow you to be comfortable, but you have to create your own comfort first. You know, you want to be with someone, this is also a thing, especially ladies. You want to be with someone that does want to build with you. I remember during my period of like dating post divorce, right? I was seeing an individual and I typically kind of attract the same type of man, like very like focused in their career. I like men that are hard workers. I'll never be one of those women that's like, choose your job or me, because it's like, no, well, you work and that's how you like make money and that's how you would provide for me. So I'm never going to get between you and your work. But this individual had worked so much and they were really big in real estate and they had purchased some apartment buildings or something like that. And I remember talking to them about, saying something about trying to help them. And he said, well, what if I don't want any help from you? So for me, that was a full stop, because if there's not a way that I can help you, then that means that I can't be your partner or your teammate, which then means that you don't even see me as valuable. I can't provide any insight to you. I can't provide any type of motivation. I can't be a sounding board to you. I can't be a listening ear, nothing. I'm just a pretty face and I'm here to just be a trophy. But I'm much more than that. So that can't ever be a true partnership, because then what do you do after a couple of years after you have a trophy? None of us have like our little league stuff. We throw it away. And I'm not disposable in any type of, romantic dynamic. So I had to go.
I'm looking at my trophy case right now. You're right. Some of us don't even dust it, right? You like, you know what I mean? It's just there to be seen. We don't even dust it. I don't
Yeah.
see any dust on mine, but you're right. It's like we put it on the case, everyone can see it, and then we move on.
Yeah.
That's a tough place to be. Like thinking you're in a relationship and you want to provide value in a way that is valuable in how you define it, and you can't even do that.
Yeah. It's not the relationship for you then. Because in relationships, you're either growing or you're dying, right? There's no like in between. And so you have to be growing together. And so there was no, I didn't serve a purpose in their life other than, I mean, we had some fun, but that was it. They weren't looking to try to build. They had it all figured out on their own, which is fine. And honestly, if you got it all figured out, then just, date in that way and just say, I'm here to have a good time and I don't want to ever be in anything serious or anything like that. And then, it gives people the option to choose, which then again, we go back to transparency and communication, right? It's literally everything.
100% transparency and communication is key, and there's some people that will avoid it, right?
Mhm.
Oh, if she brings it up, I know what it's going to be, because in their mind they already know, right? But as long as it stays in their mind, it's not reality. But once you mention it, like, oh boy, now I gotta now I gotta face it. What are some of the ways that you found your value in a relationship that maybe can help others?
Oh, I don't know if I want to give away my secret sauce. Um, Here's one. In relationships, so like I said, I typically will date men that are very involved in their career, very successful in their career, and they have their head on straight. They'll be, pretty great wage earners, and just their life looks put together, but there's still a couple of things that they're missing, and that's where I come in. So I think it's about observing the individual, and then again, transparency, saying, I really like what you have going on here, and I think we do great in each other's life. Tell me what you're needing in your life. What are some things that are missing? What can I help you do? What are some of the goals that you're wanting to achieve in life? And then you can talk to them and even say, okay, well, I've heard that you said these things. Well, do you mind if I help you with X, Y, and Z? And it's not just one-sided too, because with them being a man, if you are dating a man and them opening up and sharing their putting themselves in a vulnerable place, saying, hey, this is where I like, because that's a big thing for a man to say, with other than like, hey, can you make me something to eat? Anything other than them disclosing that they're lacking from any space other than I'm hungry and need a meal is a vulnerable space for a man. So if they open up and say, well, this is where I may need assistance with time management, or, I'm wanting to get my look together. I want to have a different look or a different aesthetic. I'm just so focused on my work. I don't even realize that, I need a new wardrobe. I haven't bought clothes in 5 years. So you kind of just look for spaces where you can help them, because hopefully the places that they're lacking, you're great at, and the places that you're lacking, they're great.
I think sometimes, to your point, some people forget that before two people get together, they've done, for the most part, a good job of maintaining their own lives or their
Hmm.
own lifestyles. But
Hmm.
when they come together, how much more rich can you feel that you have built an empire together, whatever that looks like? It could be a
Yeah.
business, it could be a family, it could be a legacy, it could be memories, it could be love within a household. The two of you came together and built that. When it comes to, let's say, the male and female dynamic
Hmm.
in relationships, how can we help them to be more in harmony with each other?
I may have some unpopular opinions, and that's fine. And, it's interesting when I even say these things. I remember having a discussion with my boyfriend, and I'm like, well, I'm a womanist. And he's like, well, what's that? And I was like, well, I'm a black feminist. And he's like, girl, what? You're a feminist? And he's like, but baby, you're so soft. I'm like, yeah, but that's because you're also soft with me. Because if you get on the other side, I'm going to always stand on what I believe in, and I'm not going to back down on that. But getting back to what you're saying, Terrain, I think I like traditional roles. Um, it also kind of goes back to my spirituality, right? So with sounds so cliche, but being like Proverbs 31, like being this woman that in the passage it talks about how she just assesses everything, and how she's this well-respected woman in her community, but she's also good at business. She's able to, um, be a nurturing individual, but also being highly revered by her spouse, and all of those things. So I think the more that a woman can be really just strive to be well versed or well educated in a lot of different spaces, where you are able to help your partner, help your man, where if let's say he's the breadwinner, okay? Allowing him to just be in that space where he can focus on what he's doing, especially if he loves what he does for a living. And if he's able to focus on doing that, then the resources will always be there, but then you're also able to manage some of the other things in the household. So does that make sense what I was saying?
I'm all for traditional roles, so yes.
Okay. You're like, yes, girl,
100, yeah.
2026. And you say,
There you go. She took the bait and she said exactly how I wanted to answer. So, interview over. No, I'm joking. No, but as long as it comes, and you gave a fantastic example, because I want everyone to understand we are joking about it, but it has to come from a place of care, not
Mhm,
control, right?
mhm,
So, and that's the big part, because I think, and some people seem to forget this, that men and women have masculine and feminine energy, but you want to make sure that you're tapping into one more than the other. So the woman is tapping into her feminine energy more than her masculine energy, and man's tapping into his masculine energy more than his feminine. Because we've seen, I know I have, like where the polarities have switched, right? And they're doing it because they're in a state of surviving. Like, for
Yes.
example, the single mother, she has to be everything and everything every single day because there isn't the other person in the picture if the person is not in the picture. So when she's meeting those deadlines, when she's running around those errands, when she is having sleepless nights, when she's working 10, 12 hours, it's because she has to, not necessarily because she wants to. And on the flip side, when you have that man that is up to nothing, the Tyrone's down the street who's in his underwear playing video games all day,
Yeah.
NBA 2K, he's tapping into something else because there's always going to be someone to take care of him
Right.
until he realizes he has to take care of himself. So I am in agreement with you 100%, Shiri.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I know it's been a whole thing, especially with the internet, with social media, well, we want our women to be soft. And women are like, well, we want, y'all need to create spaces for us to be soft. And both of those things are true, but based on the divine order of things, it's God, man, woman, kids. So anytime the woman is right up under God, it's going to be chaos because it's not the right order. Saying all that to say that men have to create spaces where women feel safe. I was in a space before where I had to tap into or I had to turn down, almost damn near mute my feminine energy or feminine vibes because there was nobody in this space being this masculine individual. And it's like, well, somebody has to do it. So I guess I have to do it. It's not fun. It's unnatural for me. So, of course, nothing in here is going right because it's not in my DNA to be this person. So, being in something completely different where it's like being with a man, it's like, okay, well, let me tell you what it is that we're about to do. Okay, well, I see that there's something, you know what, you need security cameras. Okay, well, I've already set up the appointment for that to be done because sometimes I'm not here and this, and this. Okay, well, girl, guess what else? We're gonna do transparency over honesty. And I'm gonna make sure that you know everything about me and where I am, and there's nothing to hide. And so much so that you even asking me about any thought about another woman would just be you be playing yourself because you know so much about me. And you know what? We're also going to pray every morning and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. Where now I, I, I'm so soft. I mean, you can't do anything with me other than me just be pleasant. Oh, hello, honey. How are you? Whatever. Because the environment was created for me to be that way and to be myself. And so he's able to get what he wants out of it because I remember that was the thing. He was like, you're just so soft. You're so beautiful. It's your energy, your energy. Well, it's also your energy that you give me. So it just works.
Let me ask you one final question, Shiri, before I let you go. I want to give you three wishes. And out of these wishes, you can wish for anything that you want someone to know about this question. Since we talked about the different energy, masculine and feminine, what are three things you wish men knew about creating a safe space for women to be in their feminine energy and why?
Take the lead. Take the lead on things. Um, Instead of making assumptions, ask why. So yeah, we'll leave it at that. And saying I'm sorry or apologizing does not